Welcome everybody to episode 97 of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast right here on Apple Podcasts and YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts from. On the podcast this week, we're taking a look back at the Fastlane pay-per-view that happened in Columbus, Ohio this past Sunday. Take a look at the Raw and SmackDown sides of the WrestleMania card. We'll be talking about the Nia Jax, Alexa Bliss angle. I'm re-airing a throwback interview I did with the Pro Wrestling Experience with the Velveteen Dream. I did this interview when he was Patrick Clark, when he got eliminated from the Tough Enough show, and he came on the show about a week or two after the fact, and it was a really fun interview, and you got to see a little snippet of what the Velveteen Dream character was and why he hates the attitudes of certain independent wrestlers these days, and he's very old school and grounded, and I'm very proud of that interview. So you're going to listen to the Velveteen Dream interview at the end of this week's podcast. All I ask for you guys, for those who are loyal supporters of this podcast, please tell a friend about it, like it, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher, and please leave us a review. I like to get your guys' honest thoughts on the podcast. Any suggestions you have for me to make it better? Do you like what's happening? Spread the word to the show to friend or foe. I want to thank you guys as always for supporting us on this journey to 100 episodes of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. I have a nice little special inspirational clip here from the Rocky Balboa movie that I'm going to play for you before we get started. Hope you enjoy it. Sit back, relax. Remember, we're wrestling fans. We're supposed to have fun with this. So before we get started with the podcast, like I always say at the end of the show, always remember to be the authentic product that is yourself. You're the director of your life story. So, episode 97 of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast starts right about now.
You know, living with you, it hasn't been easy. People see me, but they think of you. Now with all this going on, this is going to be worse than ever.
It don't have to be.
No, sure it does.
Why? You got a lot going on, kid.
Oh, what, my last name? That's the reason I got a decent job. That's the reason why people deal with me in the first place. Now I start to get a little ahead. I start to get a little something for myself. And this happens. Now I'm asking you as a favor not to go through with this, okay? This is only going to end up bad for you, and it's going to end up bad for me.
You think I'm hurting you?
Yeah, in a way you are.
That's the last thing I ever wanted to do.
I know that's not what you want to do, but that's just the way that it is. Don't you care what people think? Doesn't it bother you that people are making you out to be a joke and that I'm going to be included in that? Do you think that's right? Do you?
You ain't gonna believe this, but you used to fit right here. I'd hold you up and say to your mother, this kid's gonna be the best kid in the world. This kid's gonna be somebody better than anybody ever knew. And you grew up good and wonderful. It was great just watching you every day. It was like a privilege. Then the time come for you to be your own man and take on the world, and you did. But somewhere along the line, you changed. You stopped being you. You let people stick a finger in your face and tell you you're no good. And when things got hard, you started looking for something to blame, like a big shadow. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you got to be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 97 of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast, right here on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Stitcher, all the podcast platforms, all of them, the cast of pods. Yes! It's your boy, the one-man renegade, Josh Lopez. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at NotoriousJoshie. You can follow me. You can have a conversation with me. All I ask is to not be a Nimrod. We're all about spreading a positive mental attitude, and I have no time for negative energy. This podcast is about having fun. If you're a first-time listener to the podcast, welcome. Thanks for giving this podcast a chance. I know there's over 250 wrestling podcasts and video shows out there, so hopefully this one is worth your time. We do this podcast about 90 minutes or so every week, depending if it's on a pay-per-view week or we have a special guest. So for those who are first-time listeners, thank you for, like I said, giving this podcast a chance. And it's always my goal to provide context and give you a nice rational point of view of the world of professional wrestling than just coming on here and giving you guys hot takes and ranting about booking decisions that really don't matter at the end of the day. This podcast is not brought to you by anything, but if you'd like to be an advertiser or a sponsor of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast, you can. Please send me an email at prowrestlingtranscriptions@gmail.com. Please bookmark my website, prowrestlingtranscriptions.com. That's where I have all my play-by-play articles, and you can check out my coverage of the New Japan Cup that's been kicking real ass over the last couple of weeks. I'm not going to be talking about the New Japan Cup on this week's podcast because we're not at the semifinals or finals yet. I want to have a better time to fully recap the entire tournament and tour as a whole once the tournament wraps up next Wednesday. So we'll talk about that. A couple shout-outs. Shout out to my main brother Adam Daly at Twitter at AdamDaily13. Shout out to brother Carter, the Obsolete Mule. Follow me at Twitter at Derek06. I'll be hanging out with him in New Orleans. Shout out to the man of B-Rob, because he loves his bees. Follow me on Twitter at It's B-Rob. Shout out to the entire Rant with Ant crew at Rant with Ant. Check out their show, rantwithant.com, and the Wrestle Addict Radio Network. Go check that out on Apple Podcasts. Shout out to my boy Steve Muhlhausen. Support his work at sportingnews.com. He has a lot of great work over there. I think he's also doing stuff with Fightful too as well. Shout out to Sean Ross Sapp. You know, I actually had Sean Ross Sapp on my podcast. No, not on the podcast. Actually, I had him on the radio show. Which brings me to something very important. I mentioned it at the beginning part of this show, the little pre-recorded thing I did. And we're having the Velveteen Dream on this show this week. Now, it's not an interview that's recorded recently. This is an interview I did in 2015 when Patrick Clark at the time left the Tough Enough show and got eliminated. I had him on the show, and I got a little bit of a snippet of what the Velveteen Dream character actually is and what it stands for. In that interview, you know, Velveteen Dream talks about how he doesn't like the attitude of certain indie wrestlers and he hates indie wrestling, right? I got a little snippet of that in this podcast, so you're going to listen to that at the end, at the conclusion of this show. We'll talk about that. We're going to get to Fastlane in a couple minutes. I want to touch on the Raw and SmackDown portions of the WrestleMania card. You guys know me, those loyal supporters. I like debunking the myths and narratives that spew out from the social media world throughout the week. I love doing that because I could come in here and have a rational conversation with you guys, and there's just a lot of things that summarizes the theme of wrestling, I guess, for a particular week. And it's just funny and comical about how the wrestling media structure works these days, from a bevy of points on air or behind the scenes, and what's real and what's not, and who's kissing the other person's ass. There's a lot of weird aspects of the wrestling media that I'm kind of glad I'm out of that particular circle. But the circle that I'm in the circle of remind people that wrestling is fun and wrestling is an escape for everybody. That's the circle I'm in. I'm in the circle of busting my ass and grinding and providing good content for you, whether it's on this podcast or on my website. that's the circle I choose to be in. I'm not in the community. I'm not in the neighborhood. I do my own thing. I am a lone wolf in this world of media, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So, before we get to WrestleMania, because we're 3 weeks out, I can't wait to be in New Orleans. If you're going to be in New Orleans, I would love to meet you in person. I'm going to be hanging out with Brother Carter. Hopefully I'll run into my boy Ant and the rest of the Ram with Ant crew down there as well. Punkster said that he'll try his best to make it down there, but if he doesn't, I'll probably see him somewhere later on. But if you're going to New Orleans, I'd love to meet you. Love to chat up and shoot the shit. And guess what? We're going to be recording episode 100 of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast in New Orleans that weekend. I'm going to be recording it at the House of Jericho. Yes! The home of obsolete mules. All the mules. And we're going to talk about the Ultimate Deletion this week. Ultimate Deletion is going to be airing this Monday night on Monday Night Raw. And this is a lot of fun things to look forward to as this Road to WrestleMania continues. So, first thing on the docket that we need to get to right now, let's take a quick audio recap of Fastlane, the pay-per-view that came from Columbus, Ohio, the Buckeye State, right here on the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast.
AJ, the odds were stacked against you heading into this match tonight, but you retained the WWE Championship, and now you have a clear path on the road to WrestleMania, so you've got to be absolutely ecstatic heading into that.
You know, now that it's going to happen, Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles, main event WrestleMania, it's just plain and simple. I'm going to kick Shinsuke Nakamura's ass.
Bobby, I can't imagine that was the outcome that you were hoping for. What do you think went wrong during that match?
Certainly not the outcome that I was looking for. What happened tonight, I was in the ring with a 13-time World Heavyweight Champion, a man who has held every single title in this company. I was beat by the better man tonight. My goal was to leave Fastlane with the United States Championship and walk into WrestleMania, my very first WrestleMania, and defend it as the United States Champion and continue my legacy to become the greatest United States Champion in history, but obviously that's not going to happen. Tomorrow is a new day. Tomorrow, Randy Orton will be the guy with the target on his back. A rematch, you can count on that. I need some time.
So you clearly don't think that Asuka's overrated necessarily.
She's not overrated.
Do you think
no.
Do you think she's underestimating you? In the sense that, like, you know, if you're Asuka, yes, it's the fighting spirit that would make you go after the person who's the number one woman on the roster. But if I'm Asuka, I don't know that I'm going after Charlotte voluntarily.
I don't think she's underestimating me. I think she knows who she is, and she knows what she's capable of. But like I said, she's never faced me. So it's a matter of what am I capable of?
Certainly,
and that's where sometimes, you know, I do have that chip on my shoulder. How did I get here? Asuka knows where she's going.
Well, definitely iron sharpens iron, and we see that a lot here, and cannot wait to see this match between you and Asuka at WrestleMania. Congratulations again tonight. Unbelievable showing yet again from you, Charlotte.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much.
When it comes to the Fastlane pay-per-view, usually this is the time of year where people are already dreading the Mania card because some moron leaks it on Twitter or Facebook or Reddit. By the way, I've never been on Reddit before, and I'm not probably going to be on Reddit. I'm one of those people that try to avoid negative aspects of any parts of life, whether that's social media, interactions with family. I'm just not riding with that negative wave of energy anymore, I guess. But going back to Fastlane, yeah, it's just like it's one of those time periods where, you know, people treat it more as a roadblock instead of it being the last pay-per-view before WrestleMania. Like, you know how you felt when No Way Out was going on during the Attitude Era, and you're like, okay, here's the final stage. Here we go. It's not a hurdle, but this is the final stop before WrestleMania, and something cool's going to happen. And whether the show was predictable or not, that never really mattered. But there was always good No Way Out pay-per-views before WrestleMania. For example, I thought No Way Out 2006 was a perfect complement heading into WrestleMania 22. And it was kind of a shame that we did not get Kurt Angle against The Undertaker at that WrestleMania. I'm just being biased from that standpoint for myself speaking. But Kurt Angle and Undertaker put on one of the greatest in-ring wrestling world title matches that I ever seen. And that show is from Baltimore. There's been other good No Way Out pay-per-views in the past. I mean, like 2001, you had the 2002 No Way Out where the NWO made their WWE debut. 2004, you had Eddie Guerrero defeat Brock Lesnar for the WWE title in the Cow Palace, which was a very special moment. So when you look at the Fastlane pay-per-views now these days, and since we're in this era of always trying to make the WrestleMania main event a triple threat match, because Roman Reigns is the bane of every wrestling fan's existence, I guess, people just stub their nose to Fastlane now. Now, I mean, if you look at that paper and you look at it like, oh, okay, Fastlane, it doesn't ring that much off the bell, but when you call your season WrestleMania season, and we're on the road to WrestleMania, you hear that a gazillion times on WWE programming. We're on the road to WrestleMania. It's been common folklore. It's common talk. It's common speak during this time of year. We're on the road to WrestleMania. Doesn't matter if you're on a podcast or you read that phrase on an article or you even hear it on WWE programming or any podcast out there. We're on the road to WrestleMania. So yeah, Fastlane. Yeah, we're on the fast lane to WrestleMania. It does make sense. Maybe the name is not catchy enough or edgy enough, I guess, for you. But, yeah, this is like a lot of people in this era now thumb their nose at the fast lane period and all of it sucks. The first one wasn't that great, to be honest with you. But I thought Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan had an awesome match from that show. I remember that was the closing one because they fought each other for the right to face Brock Lesnar at that WrestleMania. And then the next year, I did a Wrestling Rewind article on my website, ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com, by the way. Go check it out. One of my Wrestling Rewind articles was Fastlane 2016, and that was a very good pay-per-view for what it was worth. And you had the main event of Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, and Brock Lesnar. And I think because we're so succumbed to whining and moping about the WrestleMania card that's already leaked before that pay-per-view, everybody just stubs their nose at that show. So when you go into this show on Sunday, and this is no offense to anybody that lives in Ohio or anything, but I don't think you look at Columbus, Ohio as the most like rowdiest or rambunctious group of WWE fans in the WWE universe. But I thought Columbus really helped out the show for top to bottom, just from a reaction standpoint. I thought this installment of Fastlane was the best one out of the 3 to 4 Fastlane pay-per-views we've had. Last year was all about Goldberg beating Kevin Owens for the Universal title. Then you had that crazy Roman Reigns Braun Strowman match. But this year, I thought from top to bottom, just as an overall pay-per-view, this was the best Fastlane pay-per-view that I saw as a fan and covered. I've actually covered every single Fastlane pay-per-view since the inception of it. And I really enjoyed the show. And recently, over the last couple of months, I decided to pull back what I'm doing on pay-per-view days, and with now adding New Japan to my schedule, I'm covering New Japan specials during the day of pay-per-views, and I've decided that with my sanity and I have a very unique process in the way I watch the product. I have my own ways, you have your own ways. And I decided over the last couple months that I just want to watch these pay-per-view live and enjoy for what it is. And I can hang out with my friend Jeremy. And then after the fact, when I get home, then I can do the transcription. The transcription, all it is at the end of the day, is a reference sheet for you guys. That's what it is. That's my goal with my website. If you can't watch the show on the network, if you can't watch Raw or SmackDown because you're too busy, if you don't have the money to pay for New Japan World or any of these other streaming services, it's my goal to have my website as an ultimate reference sheet for you guys. So, yeah, I did not cover Fastlane live this past Sunday. That doesn't mean that I wasn't interested in the pay-per-view. It doesn't work that way. I mean, there'll be times where I'll cover pay-per-view live when I'm not at Jeremy's house. But when you're going to watch wrestling with someone, I don't think it's cool to just blow them off and just focus on the article you're doing. And I felt bad about that because I did that a lot when I was doing the articles at his house. And he never really complained about that or anything. But, you're hanging out with people, you consider friends, and you don't have a lot of wrestling buddies, and you still have people these days questioning you about why you're a wrestling fan, why you bother with the fake stuff. And it's still annoying, even in 2018, but my point is, whether I was covering the show live or not, I enjoyed the show this past Sunday from top to bottom. Even the Bobby Roode Randy Orton match. Now, hear me out. I am an old school wrestling fan. There's aspects of the NWA and AWA that I enjoyed more than the WCW that was providing their content during the Attitude Era, during the Monday Night Wars. I liked the old school headlocks and plotting matches like Nick Bockwinkel and Kurt Hennig and Dick the Bruiser and all these other guys from the AWA and NWA performers as well. So when I saw a match like Bobby Roode and Randy Orton that's never happened before on the WWE programming, I was very excited for that. And I thought they delivered and they had enough time. And I thought they served their purpose from top to bottom in that match. I thought it was very, very good. But in this era of wrestling where we have ADD, a match where 50% of it is dominated by rest holds and chin locks, sometimes the fans are kind of indifferent to it. And this fan base wouldn't be able to handle some of the wrestling that was being aired during the 70s and 80s, and that's a shoot. I thought Randy and Bobby Roode had a very good match. Randy Orton's your new U.S. champion. He became a Grand Slam champion. Randy Orton's definitely going to be a first ballot WWE Hall of Famer. That's no question. And it looks like Bobby Roode and Randy Orton will get to go at it again at WrestleMania, which is really cool. To see Bobby Roode from TNA, he was a former NXT champion, now a former United States champion. Now he's heading to his first ever WrestleMania after all these years of busting his ass in the indie scene and in TNA to get where he's at right now is pretty cool. And the fight for the U.S. title against Randy Orton, I thought they had a very good match. I was one of the few that actually enjoyed that match. It was just a good, nice, scientific pro wrestling match. It wasn't so dependent on spots. But think about this. The match ended with Bobby Roode trying to do something that he's not known for. He's going for a flying clothesline, and Orton just drops him with the RKO in midair. So I love that match from an in-ring psychology standpoint. Other stuff on the show. I thought Rusev and Nakamura had a very good match. Not much needs to be said there. It was just very enjoyable, and the crowd's into both guys, and both guys delivered. It was a nice spotlight match for Nakamura before his WWE title opportunity at WrestleMania. Then you had Charlotte and Ruby Riott. As far as a storyline or an angle, I've been 50-50 on the program, but I like both performers, and I thought those two really stood out to me the most from that pay-per-view. I wouldn't say they had the best match in the show because that was the main event, but I thought the women's title match and what the Bludgeon Brothers did on Sunday were the most standout stuff to me on the SmackDown brand, because both those angles and feuds have been tepid as far as promotion, but I thought in execution in the title match, I thought this was a big break, a coming out party for Ruby Riott on the pay-per-view stage, have that type of match with Charlotte. And then, you know, what the Bludgeon Brothers did to the Usos and the New Day was cool. And if they have a triple threat with the New Day and the Usos and the Bludgeon Brothers, I have no problem with that. Have those guys start out the show. There's no issue with that. I think now in this era of WrestleMania where you have 3 or 4 marquee main events, you can spread those main event attraction matches throughout the show. Obviously, they've done it with Sting and Triple H. I wouldn't be surprised if Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey's match with the Authority is earlier on the show. I wouldn't be surprised if Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns don't close out the show. There's a lot of aspects and variables that's going to go throughout this WrestleMania this year, which we're going to get to later on. But back to Fastlane, I thought the Bludgeon Brothers had a great outing for them. And the disrespect that Harper and Rowan get just for what their gimmicks are. Okay, you want to rip them for their reenactment of Game of Thrones? Go ahead. I'm not a Game of Thrones fan. I never watched the show. I'm not going to watch the show, but I like Harper and Rowan as a tag team. I think Eric Rowan is very underrated in the ring, and I know a lot of people talk about Sheamus being underrated. Sheamus is just underappreciated. I know how good Sheamus is. Sheamus is just underappreciated for this era. The person that's underrated in WWE is Eric Rowan and what he does in the ring. I love Luke Harper. Who doesn't love Luke Harper? Luke Harper's the man. I'm happy that the Bludgeon Brothers are actually going to get into this program now where they're not just demolishing jobbers every single week. What I saw with the Wyatt family and the Usos in that rivalry when I was first starting doing play-by-play articles with those two teams going after each other every single week was fucking awesome. And I think they could have some great magic in, and then you add the New Day to the equation. It's just a lot of fun. And fun tag team wrestling is best for business. So I don't care if that's a triple threat match at WrestleMania. I think it'd be awesome, and if it was up to me, I'd have those guys start out the show. Why not? New Day hosted WrestleMania last year. The Usos talked about how much they wanted to be on WrestleMania and they've never been on the main show. Have these guys start off the show. There you go. And then you have the main event, six-pack challenge. I've been so accustomed to covering these six-pack challenges, whether it's Lucha Underground or TNA or WWE, that, you know, there's a lot going on in these matches, but I'm very good at multitasking. That's one of the fun aspects of what I do with my career as a writer and a stenographer for wrestling, is that I can document all these moves while there's other stuff going on the other side of the ring. And I have fun with that. And I thought all 6 guys had their moment to shine during the match from top to bottom. There was a nice couple threads of stories throughout the match where nobody were made to look stupid or anything like that. The Shane McMahon stuff with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn were great. The story of John Cena doing everything he possibly can to get his WrestleMania moment was good. Hell, he even started the match with 4 attitude adjustments. And then, of course, AJ Styles being the desperate champion, making sure he does everything he can to retain, and he did retain. And I thought that was a great main event. So, overall, I really enjoyed Fastlane from top to bottom. If it was up to me, I would recommend checking out Fastlane. For those that didn't watch the show on the network, go ahead, watch it from top to bottom. Do you like old school style matches like Randy Orton and Bobby Roode? Because I do. I think I made a joke about this on Twitter last week. Bobby Roode and Randy Orton are the perfect match on an AWA card or an NWA card. So that's just my opinion, though. I enjoyed Fastlane. This is probably the best installment of this Fastlane pay-per-view since it started back in 2015. So with that said, We're going to head to our next segment here and take a look back at this past week's Monday Night Raw from that Little Caesars Arena in not so lovely Detroit, Michigan. You're listening to the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast right here on YouTube and Apple Podcasts.
Last week in my Symphony of Destruction, I dropped a piano on Elias. Yeah, you heard me. I said a piano. And he should count his blessings that no one's ever made music on an anvil. So how is it that I don't have a match at WrestleMania? I'm not going to sit around and beg and plead and wait for someone to show me my path. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to carve my own path of destruction. And I guarantee that somebody is going to get these hands at WrestleMania.
For eons, the great war has waged between myself and the consumer of terrestrial entities, Bray Wyatt.
Matt Hardy is a fool.
And now that war has found its way to the plane known as WWE. I will devour all of the darkness you regurgitate.
His words mean nothing. Just empty promises.
This eternal battle between the light and the dark must now come to its completion.
Twist of fate! Hardy wins! I am a god. And a god can never die.
Which is why I have challenged Bray Wyatt to combat next week here at the Hardy compound. My Woken family has been assembled. Queen Rebecca, King Maxwell,
Bray Wyatt is over.
Lord Wolfgang, Senior Benjamin, and Vanguard One. Together, we shall banish Sister Abigail's rotten soul from the vessel known as Bray Wyatt. Into the redeeming waters of the lake of reincarnation. Welcome to the Hardy compound. And it is here, Bray Wyatt, where I sentence you to the ultimate deletion.
Matt Hardy is a liar. Matt Hardy is a fool. But above all, Matt Hardy is just a man. A man that has made a very, very bad decision. I know you can hear me, Matt. So allow me to give you some friendly advice. When the devil is standing on your doorstep, you should never let him in. Now, that being said, I will gladly accept your invitation to the ultimate deletion. You have such a beautiful home, Matt. Such a beautiful family. Yeah. Seems to me like it would be a real shame if something bad would happen to them. Huh. Yeah. It'd be a real shame, Matt. I'm coming for you, Matt. Run.
I knew Bray was crazy, but what the heck happened to Matt?
Kurt, you asked to see me?
Yes, I did, Sean. Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt are both Raw superstars, and they're both under my jurisdiction. This ultimate deletion match next week, I need you to be the referee.
Did I do something wrong?
No. I don't have any idea what's going to happen in this match. except for the fact that I know it's going to be complete chaos. I need you to go down there and try to make sure that they both make it back to Raw in one piece. You understand?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'm outside Mr. McMahon's office per his request, and during the break, both Mr. McMahon and Roman Reigns entered the office, and things got pretty loud, but not what I would call completely out of hand, and it seems to have settled down in the last 30 seconds or so. So right now I'm just hoping to stand by and get a question with Roman Reigns. Excuse me, Roman, if I could just get a quick question with you about what just happened in the ring. Clearly, Roman Reigns is still very upset about what has just transpired. Mr. McMahon.
So just to give everybody up to speed on all this kind of stuff, a little bit rattled here, but look, Brock Lesnar is not my boy. Brock Lesnar's not Paul Heyman's boy. Brock Lesnar is not anybody's boy. Brock Lesnar's a man. He's his own man. As far as disrespecting Roman, there's no intention of disrespecting Roman. That's not the case. I think he's a great competitor. But I just reminded Roman of something maybe he didn't want to hear, and that is an expression that his cousin, The Rock, used to say. And The Rock used to say, know your role and shut your mouth. Now, does he have certain privileges? He does, and I'll get to that in a moment. But does Brock, does he like people? No. Brock Lesnar doesn't like people. That doesn't make him a bad guy. That just makes him an individualist. Does he respect the W Universe? Probably not. I think the one thing Brock Lesnar does respect more than anything else in the world, and that's competition, be it in the ring or in the octagon. Does Brock have special privileges? He does. But I think he's earned most of those privileges. And sometimes, talent takes advantage of things that are given to them. And, Brock can get a little bit out of line, but I assure you this, that next week, Brock Lesnar will be here on Monday Night Raw. And I assure you that Brock Lesnar will compete for the Universal Championship at WrestleMania against Roman Reigns. And by the way, will he be here next week? People must be saying, wait a minute, I've heard that before. Let me just say you've got my word on it. Okay? One other thing, and that is this word of respect and so forth and the lack of it. Let me just say that based on what just happened, Roman Reigns has been temporarily suspended.
Damn right, pal. You ain't gonna disrespect me, pal. I'm Vince McMahon, damn it. Roman, you're fired. There you go. I haven't done the Vince McMahon impression in a while. Back here on the podcast, talking a little bit about Monday Night Raw from Detroit, Michigan, as we're heading on to the road to WrestleMania down in the Big Easy in New Orleans, Louisiana. Talked about three big talking points from the Monday Night Raw show this past week was obviously this angle going on with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. Roman gets temporarily suspended from Vince McMahon, and I thought the way they shot the angle to start off Raw, and Roman talking about how he won't be disrespected by Vince, and he goes and confronts him in the gorilla position. I thought all that was cool. I thought it was very cool. And this is supposed to be leading up to some type of confrontation, and Brock is going to be showing up to Raw next week, hopefully in Dallas. Brock doesn't show up next week. They better have some security outside of the American Airlines Center because Roman Reigns is going to be pissed. I know he's temporarily suspended, but I feel something where Vince will try to invoke some type of police presence around that building to help make sure Roman doesn't get in the building or something like that if Brock and Heyman do show up. So I like what's going on with this angle. I'm not going to come on here and try to justify you liking Roman Reigns. I never have done that, and I never will. But I will say this, though. For people treating this Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match like it's the sin of all sins for WrestleMania, I I look at it the other way around, to be honest with you. This one has the most heat and the most story added to it, more than AJ Nakamura, even more than Ronda Rousey's involvement in WrestleMania. They're putting a lot into this angle from a storyline and character development standpoint that it's helping both guys. And, you know, you could put your boo-boo face on for Roman Reigns, and he doesn't do anything right, and he doesn't cut good promos, and he can't wrestle, and this and that. You can say all that all you want. I know it's easy to say that. It comes easy off the tongue. Trust me, I understand. But, you know, this guy keeps hitting the ball out of the ballpark every single week, where he's in the ring or cutting the mic now. But hey, what am I talking about? Roman Reigns doesn't have top guy charisma. He doesn't have that in him to be the guy, right? Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar is going to be one of the best parts of this WrestleMania, where you want to see it or where you're going to believe it or not. And this could lead into my next point. I feel like a lot of people are treating John Cena, The Undertaker, like how people viewed the Shane McMahon AJ Styles match from last year's WrestleMania. I was there that day in Orlando in that dumpy ass area surrounding that horrible stadium that WrestleMania was in last year. And what was everybody talking about that day? Oh, AJ and Shane better not take the majority of the show. Oh, they better have less time than Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho and this and that. I heard it all that weekend that people were not looking for AJ Styles against Shane McMahon. And I'm hearing the same things right now with John Cena and The Undertaker. I'm all about history. And I'm to the day I die, The Undertaker will be my all-time favorite wrestler besides CM Punk. And, you know, I had a very emotional moment about his putting down the jacket and the hat at the end of WrestleMania last year, and I cried and I got emotional about it. And, you know, not a lot of people have connections to The Undertaker like I do. So I felt I had a 50-50 feeling about him wrestling again, or if I wanted to see him have another WrestleMania match. I did have that feeling inside of me. But when the proposition came up of him fighting John Cena, he was the only guy left that I wanted to see The Undertaker face at WrestleMania. That was it. I did not want to see Undertaker against Finn Balor. I didn't want to see The Undertaker against Braun Strowman. I wanted to see Undertaker and John Cena. I'm a history guy. And I feel like with that WrestleMania that happened in Texas a couple years ago, WrestleMania 32, where everybody was injured, I felt that was going to be the show where John Cena was going to fight The Undertaker at that show. I think that was the plan, right? John Cena was supposed to fight The Undertaker at WrestleMania 32. And circumstances got along the way. Cena was out with an injury that Mania. The next year, John Cena shoots the Mary angle with Nikki for Total Bellas and stuff. And, you know, Undertaker was, in a way, starting to pass the torch to younger guys. I think there's a difference when it comes to The Undertaker and where he's viewed over the last couple years. Passing the torch to young guys. He didn't pass anything to Brock Lesnar. That decision at WrestleMania 30 in the same stadium where WrestleMania 34 will be this year, that decision was to further illustrate the importance of the WWE Network. That decision was made for the network by Vince. It wasn't about Undertaker crumbling down and being broken down and he can't deliver the goods anymore. It had nothing to do with that. It didn't even have anything to do with Brock, to be honest with you. It was all about having that signature moment at WrestleMania. And everybody was talking about how Daniel Bryan this, this and that. Everything about WrestleMania 30 had to be about Daniel Bryan. But guess what? WWE played their hand again and showed you who was boss, because everybody was talking about the streak coming to an end. That's going to be the main takeaway from that WrestleMania. Undertaker's streak coming to an end, and that was his decision by Vince McMahon that he stuck by. What happened with Bray was a redemption story. That was it. Nothing less, nothing more. I was at that match. And I'm in the minority. I actually enjoyed that match. It wasn't great. I'm not saying that, but I didn't think it was as bad as people were making it out to be. The stuff with Shane, you know, they wanted to do something fun, I guess. I mean, go ahead. And then what happened with Roman, it had nothing to do with Roman, and I talked about that a couple weeks ago. The story about The Undertaker over the last 5 years has been very interesting. I think this year is more about him as it's been over the last couple years. I really do. Especially with this angle with John Cena now, too, poking the bear and bringing up Undertaker doing workout videos on Michelle McCool's Instagram account. And John Cena cutting good promos week in and week out and trying to pull The Undertaker in back for another match. And I see the complaints about, oh, Cena and Undertaker, this and that. Oh, it's only going to be interesting if The Undertaker shows up as the American Badass. Either way, as a fan of Undertaker, my all-time favorite wrestler, the first wrestling character I latched onto when I started watching wrestling in 1998, I'm going to make sure that I'm at Undertaker's last match. Whether it's this year or whether he's the Dead Man or the American Badass, I don't give a shit. I'm going to be at Mark Calloway's last WrestleMania match. If WrestleMania 33 was the end of the Dead Man era at WrestleMania, then I'm honored and humbled for the fact that I got to see that. If he shows up this year at WrestleMania as a Dead Man, cool. Maybe that'll happen. And I remember Brother Carter bringing this up to me about seeing Cena and The Undertaker at WrestleMania. And at first, I was kind of hesitant too, as people are about it right now. But I'm looking at this from a bigger picture standpoint. WrestleMania is about moments, and it's storytelling, history-making moments. It doesn't matter who wins this match. It doesn't. I think the story that will be told in this ring for John Cena and The Undertaker is going to be very special. Don't be surprised if this match steals the show. Because Hulk Hogan and The Rock did it 16 years ago in Toronto. And honestly, I'm very excited for this John Cena Undertaker match. I had my questions and I had my hesitations at first. When Brother Carter brought it up to me about them possibly fighting at WrestleMania, but when I look at this from a storytelling standpoint and what John Cena's been doing on the mic recently, I think we're in for something very special at WrestleMania. I don't care if he's the Dead Man, and I don't care if he comes out as the American Badass. I'm gonna make sure that I'm at Mark Calloway's last WrestleMania match, and if that makes me a bad fan, and I'm not booing him for lying or this and that, because Undertaker never even really said that he was done wrestling. We all assume. That's the funny thing about this. Everybody's making this whole issue of, oh, this is symbolizing The Undertaker's retirement. Wouldn't you think they would have him come out on Raw the next night to confirm that and say goodbye to everybody? I think Undertaker would have a way more bigger exit for the company than just putting everything down in the ring and then having 3 gongs at the end. Yeah, it was nice symbolism, but it didn't say anything about The Undertaker retiring. You had the conversation about it, but he never confirmed it. So I don't know where people are coming from with that. So either way, I'm very excited for this match. It's a match that should happen for WrestleMania. And whether people want to like or believe in the history of this business, it'd be a damn shame if a John Cena Undertaker match never occurred at WrestleMania. This version of John Cena. Not John Cena with the jerseys and the thugonomics. I'm talking about this iteration of John Cena against The Undertaker. It should happen. And, say what you want. I think these two are going to kill it. I really do. That's just my opinion. The last thing on Raw I wanted to touch on was the Nia Jax Alexa Bliss angle, because that's picking up a lot of steam and momentum. I've been waiting all the way since SummerSlam to see this match, and I think we're gonna get it. and I'm very excited. And you see the anger in Nia's face when she caught Alexa and Mickey talking smack about her on Raw this week. And Alexa Bliss, as much as I love her for her looks and stuff and how good of a character she is, she's going to get her ass whooped in New Orleans. So I thought Raw was pretty solid this week. The sub with Braun Strowman win the tag team battle royal was pretty funny. The vignette for the Ultimate Deletion was really, really good. I loved the Miz TV segment with Rollins and Balor. The Seth Rollins and Balor match was really good as well. So I thought Raw had a very good week as well. So next week on Raw, this Monday actually, we got the return of Brock Lesnar. Asuka's fighting Alexa Bliss. And then we got the Ultimate Deletion. Yes! Bray Wyatt, you've been rendered obsolete. Delete. 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 Woo. Alright, guys, that's my thoughts on Raw this week. Right now, we're going to go play an audio recap of this week's SmackDown Live and then head into the outro for this week's podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey, Nakamura, I didn't need your help at Fastlane against 5 other guys. I didn't need it tonight either.
It looked like you did. But don't worry. I will help every time until WrestleMania. So then I'll beat you with the knee to face.
Excuse me, Biggie. The Bludgeon Brothers took out 2/3 of the New Day on Sunday. Something never done before. And now they're challenging whoever's left standing from their attack tonight.
Dasha, I wish I could tell you that we proved the Usos wrong and became your 5-time WWE World Tag Team Champions. Dasha, I wish I was here with Kofi and Woods thinking up some way to fill Corey Graves' rental car with pancake batter, but I'm not, because of the Bludgeon Brothers. You see, the Bludgeons didn't just take away our championship opportunity, no. They tried to destroy us. You see, Kofi and Woods, they'll be good, they'll be back, don't you worry, don't you fret. But as long as I have 2 working legs, as long as I am here standing, I will hold down my brothers. I will represent the New Day.
Hey, you won't be standing alone, Oos. You know, they got my brother, too. And right before the Bludgeon Brothers got involved, the Usos and New Day were putting on another classic. And when our boys are all healthy, we'll tear it up again. Don't even trip about that, Oos. We'll put that on pause, but right now, let's go take care of some business.
Oos, let's give him that work.
Oh, yeah.
Sammy, who do you blame for your failure to win the WWE Championship at Fastlane?
Well, that's a pretty loaded question, isn't it, Renee? Because the obvious answer is Shane McMahon. I mean, I had Kevin Owens pinned, and were it not for him literally pulling me off of the cover, I would be standing here right now as WWE Champion. But the truth is, part of me can't blame Shane McMahon. Really, I blame Kevin Owens. Because if it wasn't for Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon's obsession with Kevin Owens, he wouldn't have even been at ringside. Shane McMahon wouldn't have been there to cost me the match. This obsession with Kevin Owens is ultimately what cost me, okay? I'm guilty by association. And don't get me wrong, look, Kevin Owens has a lot of great qualities. He's a funny guy. He's extremely talented. And truth be told, he's been there outside the ring for years for me. But trust me when I tell you, when it comes to his career, he is nothing short of a self-absorbed egomaniac. But I know him better than anybody. And at Fastlane, I played him perfectly. I played everybody perfectly. And I was milliseconds away from becoming WWE Champion. But again, I paid the price. I paid the price. I was guilty by association. Renee, trust me when I tell you that that is a price I will never, ever pay again. Not for Kevin Owens, not for anybody.
Excuse me, Kevin. What's your reaction to Sami Zayn claiming that you're the one to blame for
I'm
his
the one
loss?
to blame. I'm the one to blame for what happened to him on Sunday. Why can't he see that it's all Shane McMahon's fault? Look, if Sammy wasn't so selfish right now, he would see that he's not the only one who got screwed over at Fastlane, okay? So did I. In fact, I got screwed over first. Because if Shane McMahon hadn't stuck his nose in my business, I would be the WWE champion right now. And Sammy would have never gotten screwed because he would have never gotten close to the title in the first place. And you know what? What about his little stunt? How the little stunt Sammy pulled, pretending to lie down like he was gonna let me win, and then trying to pull out a cheap victory because he knew he couldn't legitimately get it done on his own. You know what, Renee? I'm so sick of this. I really am. Sami Zayn, you know what he is? Sami Zayn's a liar. He's a manipulator. And now he's blaming me for his own shortcomings. Look, if he wasn't so delusional, he would see that I am the rightful WWE champion. I should be standing here right now with the WWE title, and I'm not. And that's because of Shane McMahon. Shane McMahon is just like all the other McMahons. He can't stand not having the spotlight on him, so he tries to steal it from the people who deserve it, like me. Why? Tell me this. Why do we need Shane McMahon at ringside at Fastlane, huh? Why? We didn't need him there. You know what? If Sammy can't see Shane McMahon for what it really is, I have no problem being the one to teach Sammy a lesson and being the one to help him open his eyes up to the truth.
Got Smith. I go to the side. I go to the side. Go to the side. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I've been really enjoying like the brawls and the crowds during these New Japan shows that the Ring Announcer is just losing its ever-loving mind during. It's just phenomenal. Like I mentioned at the beginning part of the podcast, I'll be talking about the New Japan Cup in its entirety and the entire tour as a whole. Coming up next week on the podcast. But in the meantime, we're going to finish off the show this week by me dropping down what I think is going to happen for the full Mania card at WrestleMania. Yeah, the Mania of Wrestle. Remember that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go with this, shall we? At first, we're going to start off with the kickoff matches, all right? First one we're going to do is the first ever WWE Women's WrestleMania Battle Royal. Second on the dot, we have Cedric Alexander against Mustafa Ali for the Cruiserweight Championship, the finals of the Cruiserweight Championship tournament. 205, I keep putting over 205 Live each week. You guys are truly missing out if you haven't been watching these matches. What Roderick Strong and Cedric Alexander did this past Tuesday was absolutely phenomenal. All right, third one. The fifth annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Now remember, folks, the first Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal happened at WrestleMania 30. So think about that. How about that? Yeah, so that'll be my third one. So that's 3 matches, all right? We'll do 3 matches for WrestleMania, then you sprinkle in those panel segments and Paul Rosenberg and the rest of the crew there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Here's the next slate of matches. Starting off first, the Usos against the Bludgeon Brothers against the New Day. Triple threat ladder match for the SmackDown Live Tag Team Championships. All right, that's number 1. Match number 2, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, and The Miz triple threat for the IC title. No, you know what? Let's flip that. Let's flip that one over. Second match, Nia Jax, Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Championship. All right, here we go. Match number 3, Kurt Angle, Ronda Rousey against The Authority. That's match number 3. Match number 4. We're going to go with, wait for it. Yeah, there we go. Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Miz, triple threat for the IC title. Alright. Next match, Charlotte against Asuka. that match, SmackDown Women's title, 101, boom, boom, boom. All right, there you go. Match number 5. No, let's start off from the beginning, all right? Triple threat, Bludgeon Brothers, Usos, New Day, triple threat ladder match, SmackDown Live Tag Team titles. Match number 2, Nia Jax against Alexa Bliss. Match number 3, Kurt Angle, Ronda Rousey against Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. Match number 4, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, and The Miz. Match number 5, Charlotte against Asuka. Okay? Match number 6. Alright? We're going to go with Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Okay? There you go. Big match right there. After that, we'll go with Randy Orton, Bobby Roode, and Jinder Mahal. Triple threat, Sidney Jones for the United States title. That's 7-8. John Cena against The Undertaker. Now we got our conundrum. I'm going to figure out where we're going to put Randy Orton, Bobby Roode, and Jinder Mahal at. We'll figure that out later. But wrapping it up, we'll do... like after the Dan Bryan, Shane McMahon, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn match, that's 6. We'll go with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. That's 7-8. 8. It's gonna be very interesting how they put Randy Orton, Bobby Roode, and Jinder Mahal, because I do want to see that match. I'm just trying to figure out where they're gonna put it on the show. But for me, I'll close out WrestleMania with Cena and The Undertaker, and then before that you have the second to last match, you have AJ Styles against Shinsuke Nakamura. So there you go. That's what I would do at WrestleMania. Love to give you guys of how you would structure the match order. Not saying the card, I'm saying the match order of the show. Love to get your thoughts. As always, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Notorious Joshua. That concludes episode 97 of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. Like the Facebook page, facebook.com/JWL Podcast. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast from. Spread the word to friend or foe about the podcast. I truly appreciate it. And please, always remember to leave a review. I'd love to get your honest feedback on these shows. Bookmark Pro Wrestling Transcriptions. Shout out to everybody that's always a great supporter of this podcast, like Brandon DeJesus, Patrick Fritz, Brandon, not Brandon, Patrick sent me a question on Twitter earlier today. He said, with the location now being, for WrestleMania 35 being at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, he asked me who I thought was going to be in the main event of WrestleMania next year. Well, my friend, Mr. Fritz, if that's your real name, I'm kidding. I think we're going to have the Shield 3-way at WrestleMania 35 for the WWE title. There you go. Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, triple threat Sidney Jones for the WWE Universal title at WrestleMania 35. The Shield collide. That's my main event for WrestleMania 35. On that note, we're going to wrap it up there. Hope you guys enjoyed this week's podcast. It's a little bit shorter than our regular slated episodes, but I know you guys are busy. I have stuff I have to do as well, and more articles to type out. So, hope you guys enjoyed this week's podcast. Enjoy this next interview, a throwback interview I did with the Velveteen Dream. We'll be back here next week to talk all about it here on the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. I love you guys. Talk to you next week.
I have a question. Yes, Alex. You were like, no one out there knows anything about wrestling. Right. You don't have to know history. You don't have to know wrestlers. You don't have to know matches. I don't have to know anything about this sport.
But you should know.
Why? Why
because
do I
you want to be here, right?
Yeah, but why do I have to know history?
I believe Alex should go home this week because he's an A1 idiot.
History's history. It's what happened. I'm here to start a new age.
In order to start a new age, you need to know the history. That way you don't repeat it.
Knowing something from the last 30, 40, 50 years of wrestling doesn't give you the skill to do a move.
I'm a blank slate. You came here to become a WWE superstar. You don't go to the NFL and not know who Ray Lewis is.
Yes, you do.
If you really want something, you educate yourself about it.
That's not true. Knowledge means nothing.
Oh, that was the dumbest statement I've ever heard.
Welcome back, everybody. Pro Wrestling Experience here on ChicagolandSportsRadio.com every Wednesdays, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. here in our lovely State Street studios in the best wrestling town in the world, Chicago, Illinois. My name is Josh Lopez. You guys know what the show is. We promote the history and the positivity in the world of professional wrestling. This is not a dirt sheet show or a hack show. And unlike Alex, we promote the history and we care about the history of the business. And I'm glad to have a guest on. It was my favorite competitor from this season, Tough Enough, and a guy who probably has the same amount of passion for the wrestling business as I do. His name is Patrick Clark. You can follow him at Twitter at ToughPatrickC. And he comes all the way from D.C. and part of Maryland Championship Wrestling. Patrick, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Josh.
No problem, man. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm feeling great.
Awesome, man. Where are you calling us right now? Are you at the training center or are you at home?
No, I'm at home right now. I went to training yesterday.
All right, that's cool. So I just played the clip. I don't know if you heard it or not, but tell us a little bit about yourself. And people never heard about Patrick Clark, or they're seeing your match for the first time. Who is Patrick Clark?
Well, as most people know, when I was 2 years old, my father was taken from me. So growing up, I went to professional wrestling as a coping mechanism, and ever since I was 12 years old, I decided which side of the guardrail I wanted to be on. And I've been relentlessly pursuing professional wrestling as my career. Mm-hmm. And in February of 2015, I had my first ever professional wrestling match with Maryland Championship Wrestling.
How old are you?
I'm 19 years old.
19. I wanted to get into wrestling business because of Jim Ross. I wanted to be an announcer. And I do admit I have the same amount of passion as you do. But who's the wrestler that got you interested in wrestling and who inspired you to get in the ring?
Well, Kurt Angle and The Undertaker both equally inspired me to get into professional wrestling.
That's cool. Do you have a favorite streak match from Taker?
My favorite streak match, I'm actually watching it right now, is Undertaker versus Shawn from WrestleMania 25.
Nice. For you being a long fan, do you have any favorite Chicago pay-per-views or moments?
No, I am a CM Punk fan, though, so if anything Chicago-related, it would have to deal with CM Punk.
That's fair. So you left Tough Enough just about a couple weeks ago now, and what have you been up to? I'm sure you're back at the training center, but have you been doing any different type of indie shows since?
Yeah, I had a few indie matches so far, but, I got to get right back to the grind. I believe that you got to strike while the iron's hot, and I've been off of TV as of yesterday for 2 weeks now, so I need to be able to take advantage of every opportunity that's given to me right now. So I'm just went straight back to training the day after I got home, preparing for all these indie shows, taking bookings, if it's autograph signings or if it's actual matches, anything I can do to stay relevant, because this Tough Enough thing will wear off.
Yeah, absolutely. And I heard an interview with Chris Jericho on the Rich Eisen show yesterday, and he's basically talking about how some of the fans may have had different expectations as to what the season of Tough Enough was going to be. And I kind of knew it from the preview special they did on the network before the first episode came out, that it was going to be more of a game show type of thing. Did you felt like the show was going to be the same way it was going to be the last season with Austin, or did you already know this wasn't going to be what it was?
Well, we were told from the start that the show wasn't going to have the same format. But in any case, you're coming to the WWE to be a part of Tough Enough. You would assume that it would have more wrestling based in it, which it really didn't. It was more the reality show aspect, which is what troubled me.
Now, since you've been gone from the show, what do you say is the biggest thing you're taking away from the show, positively or negatively?
Positively, it was a foot in the door for me. I mean, I count myself very blessed to be put in this situation, because you got hundreds and thousands of guys on the indies right now that can't even get a WWE tryout. Yeah. And for me to be able to be in WWE space for 5 to 7 weeks, I mean, it's a blessing, and they know who I am.
I heard you on the Ross Report last week, and great podcast as always with JR. It's very humble where you get to interview your heroes like JR, and he's a great guy, and I heard about your background and how you were raised with your mother and your grandmother, and they did a great job with you. And So you talked about how you were disciplined and you're grounded. Do you think that helps you out, especially when it comes to like different independent wrestlers these days that may not be as focused as you are?
Oh yeah, I had an interview about a year ago for like the Maryland Gazette where I'm at, and one of the things I harped to the Gazette was that you have independent wrestlers that don't take this seriously. They think that you can just make it to the WWE. There's a lot of facets that it takes to become a WWE superstar, and I found that out firsthand by being down there. First of all, you got to look the part. So if you're going to go around and you're going to eat from 7-Eleven while you're on the road and stuff like that, and you think that that's going to cut it, you're dead wrong. Then you have to be conditioned. You got guys like the late Dusty Rhodes who would wrestle Ric Flair for an hour every day for a week. That's 7 hours in a wrestling ring, and you got to be able to go without getting tired. And then you got to have a mind for the business. It's not all about the moves. I mean, the moves don't mean anything. If you can't connect with the fans and you can't tell a story, what are you doing?
Do you think with today's society, being so like impatient and kind of like entitlement, do you think are you feel like you're taking advantage of the social media platforms that are out there to get your name and your brand out there?
Oh, yeah, they're still talking about me. They still want me back on the show, and it's been 2 weeks.
Yeah, I can tell. And let me ask you this. So I've interviewed a bunch of indie wrestlers before, and I have a lot of respect for the independent wrestling world. Is anytime anybody can step in the ring, no matter what type of wrestling company or league it is, it's an ultimate sacrifice. So the kudos to the wrestlers that put their bodies through everything they do in the ring. My question is, for someone like you who's been a longtime fan and you have the passion, I hear it in your voice, and sometimes when I interview wrestlers, they kind of have like a jaded point of view of the wrestling business, and they no longer become fans since now they're in the business and they're doing it each week, and it's a grind, it's an individualized business. But from you, Patrick, are you jaded? Do you have any bitter feelings toward the wrestling business, or are you just having as much time being a fan right now as you are, even though you are in the business right now?
To be honest, I don't have any jaded feelings toward the wrestling business. I would say I have a bit of a chip on my shoulder, though, because I care about this business, and I just find it disrespectful when just anybody could get in it. I've always loved the old school way of wrestling, back in the days where they would hurt you before you got into the business. You couldn't just let anybody in. You couldn't just pay your money and get in the business. So I've got a chip on my shoulder as far as it goes when just anybody gets to get in it. They just want to call themselves a professional wrestler because they could buy a pair of boots off of eBay.
Good point. I mean, or they could look at something like High Spots and then say like, oh, I listened to Cole Cabana's podcast and CM Punk, and I watched wrestling for 30 years. Now I could be in the wrestling business, right?
Yeah, that's a bunch of BS to me. If you're on the indies, you need to be in a ring at least twice a week learning your craft. Nothing makes you better than anybody else. You need to be setting up a ring at a show and tearing it down. You need to be doing all that stuff, because when you go down to NXT, I guarantee you, everybody on the roster is down there setting up the place. They're tearing things down, and they have to go to practice. And they're in that place in the Performance Center at least 4 days a week getting the grind in. So if you're on the indies and you think, it's just going to come naturally, you're dead wrong, and you're not going to make it anywhere.
You thrive on that, right? Just the competition, just being part of the whole aspect of the business. Is just the wrestling stuff, or are you interested in like the production stuff and maybe like writing down the road? Are you interested in learning about this stuff?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely interested in that, because as JR pointed out to me last week, you got to have a backup plan.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to be able to learn all the facets of the business. You have so many road agents with the WWE, like Joey Matthews and Jamie Noble and Billy Kidman, and all those guys were great performers when they were in the middle of that ring and they were selling tickets.
Yeah.
But now they're behind the scenes and they're helping the younger guys. They're helping guys like me who want to come up and become great in the wrestling business. So you got to know all those things, from lighting to what you do in Gorilla to how to book, to how to put things together, because one day you could be there running the show, and you need to be able to know these things. That creates longevity in your career.
Let's talk a little bit about your career in MCW. I watched a match of yours on YouTube last night with Sudden Impact, and you were Rick Powers. And it's a good match. You're a good wrestler from what I see so far, especially for a young age. Tell us a bit about your tag team and what you do in Maryland Championship Wrestling.
So I am in a tag team called Sudden Impact. My tag partner is Leo Rush. He actually just won the 2015 Shane Shamrock Memorial Cup for Maryland Championship Wrestling. We have been tagging for a couple of months now. Of course, we had the split when I went down to Tough Enough, and I believe he just did a Ring of Honor tryout camp, which he did very well in. And, I feel like we work together. We've got that big man, little man dynamic, and people seem to like us.
Now, since you've been out of the show for the past couple weeks, is there any one other like wrestling legend or wrestler out there that kind of surprised you in their support of you and giving you advice?
Oh man, you don't realize how many people I've talked to. It's just, it would be unfair of me to point any one of them out over the other. If I had to give any one wrestling legend credit to how much they helped me, aside from my coaches who are obviously with me all the time, it would have to be Chris Jericho, the host of Tough Enough, because he didn't have to do that. I mean, it's Chris Jericho. He's got so many things on his plate. He's a bestseller with his books. He's a rock star, literally a rock star, and a professional wrestler, and he's hosting Tough Enough on top of it. I mean, he did Beast in the East in Japan, just to come back on a Tuesday to host Tough Enough. Then he's got his Fozzy tours, and he's still wrestling for the WWE. He doesn't have to take time out of his schedule as much as he's running around and doing what he's doing to help anybody, but he made it his business to help me every time he saw me. So I would have to say Chris Jericho. But I've had help from Hardcore Holly to Joey Styles, Bully Ray, Jim Ross, you name them, Booker T, Billy Gunn Lita. I feel really good because I feel like the entire wrestling community is behind me.
Yeah, that's because you want it, right? You want it. You want it more than anything in the world. And I see how I watch every episode of Tough Enough, and it's interesting. I knew it was gonna be different than Tough Enough, so I'm kind of different than most like wrestling media people or whatever. Like I look more at the positive side of wrestling than just trying to nitpick every little thing that happens, because honestly, wrestling as far as the entertainment side is subjective. Obviously, there's things you're trained and taught as far as the right way to do certain moves or whatever, but as far as like reactions from the crowd or whatever, when it comes to the TV show, is subjective. And like for me, I study the product for what it is. I watch the shows. I don't need Dave Meltzer to tell me what my wrestling opinion is. And I heard a story about basically the Wrestling Observer saying that you were offered a WWE contract after you were eliminated and you denied it. And I saw your Patrick scope about that, saying that Wrestling Observer is wrong, especially for a guy like you being like a historian and you, like me, like enjoying the product of the business. How do you feel about guys like Meltzer and et cetera who just report stuff just for the sake of reporting? And honestly, you know, Dave's been doing this for a long time, and I'm sure a lot of people respect him, but for me, he's not really a real journalist, in my opinion.
Well, I respect Dave Meltzer, and I respect Brian Alvarez. Brian Alvarez was actually the one who did the report with me the day after I was eliminated from Tough Enough, episode 5. And we actually did a follow-up episode where Brian did apologize to me for reporting the false news. As to how it got reported or what went into it, that's none of my business, but he did apologize to me, and that's what matters most to me. You know, as long as we've cleared the air on that and you've let the people know that that wasn't the case, because my biggest thing is I don't want the WWE to believe that I'm going out here giving false reports about things that aren't even happening. No one has talked to me. No one has offered me anything, and I definitely didn't decline anything. I don't want that to get back to someone in the WWE and they say, oh, we can't trust this guy or he's a liar. I don't want anything to jeopardize my opportunity with the company that I love so much. So that's all that was.
We're talking to Patrick Clark from Maryland Championship Wrestling and a former Tough Enough competitor. You can follow him at Twitter at ToughPatrickC. Talking to Josh Lopez here on the Pro Wrestling Experience here on ChicagolandSportsRadio.com. We promote the history and the positivity in the world of wrestling. Now, I'm sure you've got this question a lot so far, but is there any – I'll change it up a little bit as far as, like, who could win and who's standing out. In your opinion, since you've been gone, who you think has stepped up the most and improved since you've been out of the show?
I think Josh is he's always improving. Josh is my pick to win it all for the guys because he has charisma. He has the talent, the athleticism. He definitely has the look. His talking, we all need improvement on something. So,
Yeah.
Josh is just improving at every step of the way. Gigi was my pick for the girls, but after hearing how the results went down last night and the fact that if she was not saved, she would have went home instead of Chelsea. Like I said in the past, Gigi, she's been on it. She can't be touched by any of the girls as far as challenges goes, as far as how fast she's learning things. But the people don't want her there, and that was evident of last week. If she's putting the bottom three again, she's definitely going home.
Do you think the voting system is probably the primary fabrication of what the game is this year? I mean, like you're gone, Motto is gone, Chelsea was gone now. It's kind of odd with like the save options now and then. Now Miz is a judge after the whole Hogan fiasco, and it's like I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like I remember a story where Kevin Eck, I'm sure who you're familiar with, the former WWE writer, came out and wrote about how the voting is actually real. It's not predetermined. It's not fabricated or whatever. But the fact that the WWE Universe says they want people that are passionate for the wrestling business and want to be there, but the WWE Universe is the ones that are not voting for you guys to stay.
Well, I'm not going to say that the voting system is flawed because that would be the same thing as me watching Monday Night Raw and critiquing things. I feel like Vince McMahon, who has ran WWE for years, for decades, he does a very good job. If he wasn't doing a good job, he wouldn't have been able to buy out WCW. He wouldn't have been able to outlast all his competition. He wouldn't still be here today. You know?
Yeah.
So Vince McMahon knows what he's doing. I'm never going to dispute that. Personally, I feel like we have a mixed audience in Tough Enough. You have the WWE Universe, and then you have the reality show watchers who just want to see the drama or just want to see how the story unfolds. And when we're doing live voting, we're the first ever reality show to do live voting where you have to have the show produced and edited by Tuesday, and you're doing voting the very same night. You know, we're the first show to do that. So when you have live content like we're producing, and then you give people a few minutes to think about what they just saw and to make a split-second judgment on everyone they just saw, and then you got a bottom three, and they got to just judge them off of what they just saw in that episode. It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to say I was painted in any light because with me, what you saw is what you got. That's who Patrick Clark is. And I was giving ZZ tough love on episode 5, but when you put me in there with Josh, who had just had a segment with him talking to his daughter, and then you got lovable ZZ, who's just popular as can be, and then you put Patrick, this dick, in there, who's just like, oh, I hate everybody and everything, and I'm so passionate about the business. You know, who are you going to vote for?
Yeah.
You know?
That's a good question. I mean...
So...
Yeah, go ahead.
So you have to be conscious of how you're portraying yourself in front of those cameras. If it is you may want to have to dial it back. That was my problem. I'm not going to dial it back. You either love me or you hate me, but I'm not going to change for you.
So do you think that first impression thing is the main thing that was the reason why you left the show?
I wouldn't say first impression. I feel like my first impression was a good one. If we go back through the history of the show, of this season, the first week, Tanner was the bad guy and I was the good guy. Yeah. The second week, the tables turned, and I'm sticking it to Tanner the same way he was sticking it to me. So now Tanner's the good guy, now I'm the bad guy. And then I go on like a 3-week win streak where you got Mada and Josh teaming up and jumping on my case because they don't feel like I should have won. So now you see me defending myself, but it's in the form of an argument. Then you get Tanner jumping on me, and I'm defending myself, but it's in the form of an argument. And then I'm getting in ZZ stuff because I want him to step up, but it's in the form of an argument. And as a casual viewer, when you keep tuning into Tough Enough, all you see is an argument but there's always one common denominator, and that's Patrick Clark. So you just look at me and you're like, oh, he's causing drama all the time. He's always arguing. He started something with every guy in the house. And now it's like, we don't like this guy. So I don't think it was first impression, but it was a impression made over the course of the episodes.
I could tell by just talking to you about during this conversation so far that I don't think you're a bad guy. I don't think you're an a-hole or whatever. Obviously, you showed that you're passionate about the business and that you're going to do anything you can to stay on there, no matter if people liked you or not. And you're determined, you're focused, and you know what your goals are, and you want to reach it. Now, did you get to talk to Vince McMahon, or did you get to spend some time with Daniel Bryan or any of the judges after the shows were over while you were still there?
No, I never got to speak with Vince McMahon personally. I did get to speak with all the judges and Triple H. And it was just quick words. Triple H expressed with me that, you don't have to win the show to become a WWE superstar. Tough enough is not the be-all, end-all. So all I got to do is keep doing what I'm doing, keep working hard, and next time a WWE tryout comes my way or I get the opportunity to be in front of the WWE again, that's when I am kicking into the gear that they know I have.
Let's get into the fan, Patrick Clark, because we got the wrestler, we got the tough nut competitor. I like to get to know more of the fan here, Patrick Clark. So Undertaker's back. We got this big match coming up soon with Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. What's your thoughts on the storyline so far, and are you looking forward to the match at SummerSlam?
I always look forward to the Undertaker match. Undertaker and Brock Lesnar are both competitors that you don't get to see often. So when you do get to see them, it's a special occasion. It's an event, if you will. So being the event is SummerSlam, and you get to see the return match of Undertaker and Brock Lesnar from WrestleMania 30, it's just exciting. You want to see Undertaker get his vengeance back. You want to be able to see him finally get his comeuppance and shut Brock Lesnar down. And Brock Lesnar's been a monster. He's been stronger than he ever has in his career.
Yep.
He's just unstoppable. So being able to see what story they're going to tell during the match, I just can't wait.
Yeah. Now we got WrestleMania 32 going to be in Dallas next year. Obviously, the goal is for 100,000 people in that stadium to beat WrestleMania 3's record. If you had a couple of matches that you would like to see that you think would fit 100,000 people there, what would it be?
I definitely would like to see the Shield explode again. I'd like to see Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins in a triple threat.
All right.
I always want to see Undertaker. I don't care who he's facing. Maybe it could be his return match against Brock Lesnar. I don't know. But I'd like to see Undertaker at WrestleMania as always. And then you just got a talent roster. You got guys like Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper, just King Barrett. It's so much talent, you just don't know. I don't know. I'm not a booker. I wouldn't know where to put them. But I would like to see them on the show of shows. 100,000 is incredible. I've always thought WrestleMania 3 looked great with 93,000, but you have 7,000 more people in that building, and you're down there in Dallas. Good God, I mean.
Biggest wrestling show ever.
Yes.
Just about.
Biggest entertainment show ever.
True. That as well. And do you think your other favorite wrestler, Kurt Angle, would come back to the WWE by then?
I'm not sure. I spoke to Kurt Angle recently, and he's good where he is. He's working at his own pace. Kurt Angle has had so many surgeries over the years, and that's because he's a workhorse. He wrestled all his life from the age of 6 or 7, I believe, up until the Olympics. After the Olympics, he went straight to the WWF, and then straight to the WWE. And he's just been working ever since. He's had his stints in TNA and ECW. I mean, the man never stops, and he's still going today like he did back in 2001. So wherever his heart leads him, I wish him all the blessings in the world. And I would love to just see Kurt Angle compete. I don't care where it is. As long as he's competing, I'm happy.
Before we let you go, Patrick, there's a lot of fans. I'm a fan of yours. I check out the Periscope. You got hashtag Clarkology and Patrick Scope and all that cool stuff. So for any of your fans out there that are listening right now, what would you say to them, and what's next for Patrick Clark?
Well, I want to thank all my supporters, all my fans out there in Patrick country. I really love you guys. Thank you for keeping me relevant, and thank you for letting the WWE know how you feel about me. If you want to follow me, you can follow me through my social media outlets. At Twitter, it's ToughPatrickC. That's Twitter at ToughPatrickC. Instagram at ToughPatrickC. Periscope at Patroscope. That's PATRISCOPE. And Facebook at Patrick Clark.
Thanks, Patrick. Man, I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. Glad to get to know you a little bit. You're a great guy, and love to have you back on the show sometime.
Thank you, Josh. I really appreciate you.